welcome. For those of you that don't know me or you're new to Divine Light Yoga, I am Laura, founder and lead teacher of Divine Light Yoga. And I'm here with another lovely Laura, who is my newest team member to Divine Light Yoga and my upcoming teacher training. So I'm very excited to be working with this other lovely Laura. And we have so much in common, Laura and I, that sometimes when I tell people about Laura, I sound like I have multiple personality disorder because I sound like I'm talking about myself. Laura, do you want to introduce how we actually met? And
okay. So we met in Bali on a yoga teacher training course for children, I think about 7 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
I can never remember. I always feel like everything happened for me between 6 and 9 years ago. So it was somewhere.
Yeah. And Spain is my home for the last 12 years, but somewhere around that time I left to go to Asia, and on the search specifically for a yoga teacher training course for children, and I saw a poster in Bali and immediately knew that this was the course to go on. So Laura was one of the participants, and it was just a mega 10 days for many reasons.
It was very magical. And so much more than a kids yoga teacher training. And I think because Laura and I had that experience on our teacher training, or one of the teacher trainings that we've done, I feel like I definitely have transferred that kind of magic into the teacher trainings that I lead now, because I do want it to be so much more than just come and learn about kids yoga and meditation. It is like a whole transformational experience on a personal level, as well as obviously professional. And so today I just wanted to really introduce Laura to our Divine Light Yoga community. And we actually have Charlie here, who has just finished a couple of months ago the teacher training, and Annika, who will be joining the teacher training on the 14th of September. So that's really cool. Hey, Charlie. So we have a new member of the community, and Charlie, don't want to call you an old member of the community, but a well-loved member of the community here. So that's nice. So this next kind of 60 minutes or so is really about you getting to know Laura, the other Laura, my new teacher trainer, and me, and really for us to just answer your questions about kids yoga and helping you solve any problems that you might have. So obviously we've got some of you on Zoom, we've got some of you live on Facebook. So if you are live on Facebook, you can just type your questions in the chat box. And those of you that are live, you can unmute yourselves, or you can type any questions in the chat box. So I expect those that are watching the recording as well will have a whole range of different experiences with regards to kids yoga and mindfulness. So we'll probably have some of you that are already teaching, and some like the lovely Charlie, who are just kind of leaping into the world of kids yoga and meditation now. Some of you might be parents or educators, social workers, therapists, who are looking for a little bit more guidance on how to implement yoga, meditation, mindfulness into your classes and sessions with children, family, and teens. So we're both Laura and I are totally open to any questions. So you can either type them in the chat box, or feel free to unmute yourselves. Charlie, you are no stranger to being on my Zoom calls. If you've got any specific questions, for those of, I hope you don't mind me sharing, Charlie, but you've just launched a new course in kids yoga, which is all about getting your children ready to go back to school post-COVID. So here in the UK, some kids actually already started going back to school, but it's a huge, big step for the children and families as a whole. There's going to be some big emotions going on. And so it's really important for educators and parents to really know how to support those children. And so Charlie has a new course for children that's going to help support them. But do you have any particular questions or need any support from Laura or myself? Are you like, no, just here to absorb whatever?
Shall I ask?
Yeah, please.
I think for me, the main question that I have is about just how to reach the right audience. I feel like I'm advertising what I'm doing to a load of other people that are doing the same thing, if that makes sense. Or the people that, like on Instagram, for instance, everyone I'm following, everyone that's following me is also a children's yoga teacher or a yoga teacher. How do I like get outside of that and reach parents, the parents that I need? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
definitely.
They're not doing it.
Yeah. No, I think there's so much value in having those connections with other kids yoga teachers, for sure, for sharing ideas and inspiration, but also that you can connect with them because maybe they are doing something similar, but they're not necessarily doing the same thing. They might be, they might only be teaching in person and you're teaching online, and that's something that they might be willing to offer to their community. Or they might not be in the local area that you'll be able to offer classes to. So there's definitely still a lot of value in kind of cross marketing, if you want to put it that way, so that you can reach more families. For sure, kids yoga teachers, most of us just want to get reach as many families as possible, whether it's us doing it independently or whether we're actually connecting the families in our community with other kids yoga teachers that might be specialized in a different area or running things a little differently that we ourselves can't offer. So definitely keeping those connections with the kids yoga teachers that you've got connections with. But to reach the families, it's really looking at where are the families that need you, the parents that need your support, where are they? So really thinking, what magazines are they looking at? That are, whether it's your local magazines or international magazines. Because probably most of them are not looking in yoga magazines. They're looking in parenting and lifestyle magazines. So looking at doing features or writing articles for those magazines, or free advertising. You don't always have to pay for advertising in magazines. If you're thinking about Instagram, because I know, Charlie, in particular, you do a lot of your promotional stuff on Instagram, it's actually finding parents that are maybe have their own following, who are more conscious parents, mindful parenting, and contacting them. And again, just, kind of, it's not really cross-marketing at all, but approaching those parents who have their own big following and saying, hey, I'm running this course. I think it's going to be really valuable for a lot of the families who follow you. Would you be interested in being an affiliate? Would you be interested in promoting my things? Or just kind of, I'm working in that way. Because, personally, for me, I have a following, you lovely ladies. And if someone approaches me and says, I have this thing, I have this program, I have this resource or book that I think your following would absolutely love and they're really looking for it, if I look at that and think that is an amazing resource, I'm going to share that with my community, because that's not something that I can create myself. That's not my area of expertise. So I'm going to share that because I know it's of value to my community. So maybe approaching or connecting with those on Instagram or Facebook, those parents that have their own big following, and connecting with them, and definitely not doing it in a kind of salesy way, but literally just approaching them as yourself. Say, this is what I do. I think it would be valuable to your community. Would you be interested in in discussing this, or would you be like, take a look, this is what I offer, and if it's something that you think your community would be interested in, please do feel free to share it. And that's with, you know, free resources and also your paid classes and courses as well. Yeah, so definitely take a look at that. I think that's probably the quickest way to reach more people as well. Thank you, Charlie. All right, any other questions? So Annika and June, so lovely to see you, June. Do you ladies have any particular questions?
I don't really have any questions just yet. I'm going to be starting the course in a couple of weeks, so I'm really excited about that. You know, I'm doing a few yoga courses online at the moment, so you know, I'm hoping to learn more about that and more about the business side. And I know that you've got that in your course as well, so I'm just really looking forward to starting with you. I did a yoga course about 15 years ago with Joe Manuel, but I don't think I registered with Yoga Alliance at that time, so I think it will be really nice to be an actual registered yoga teacher as well. So just looking forward and learning from you.
Well, both Laura and I are definitely excited to have you on the training. And yeah, I think it can sometimes, on the first day of training, we ask, you know, what questions do you have? What are you interested in learning? And it can be quite an overwhelming question, because you're like, oh, I don't even know. Sometimes you don't know what you want to learn. You don't know what questions to ask, because it can seem like a huge subject. Yes, we have like 4 months with you, Annika. Yes. So there's going to be so much learning. Definitely.
I did your course on anxiety. So I really, really loved that. And I love learning about the brain and how yoga can change your brain and how the affirmations can change your brain. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about that, definitely.
Yeah, I think like a lot of my trainees, like Charlie might laugh at me because I'm just obsessed with mantras and affirmations. And I think Laura, I think you're the same, right?
Like, I carry my Louise Hay book, The Little Book of Affirmations, with me everywhere. I bought it in India years ago, and it's quite torn, but it's just so powerful. So
I love it because I've told my daughter, who's 5, about them, and whenever she's doing something difficult, I always hear her say, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Or, you know, she says these affirmations as she's doing it, and I love it. I love that. It just gives her the confidence to be able to do whatever she's trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel about affirmations, that I mean, there is definitely research out there, obviously, about how it does rewire your brain and make those new connections. But at the end of the day, if people believe that if people want to think it's a placebo, whatever, I don't care, because if it works, it works.
It works, yeah.
It's the same with crystals. You know, I see some children who have parents who have introduced crystals to them and they truly believe in it. And then other parents who are like, I think it's just a placebo. And I think, I don't care if it works. If it makes them feel like they could do it, that they're strong, that they're brave, well, that's all we really want, right? And obviously we don't want them to feel dependent on, oh my gosh, I haven't got my rose quartz crystal, I can't be a compassionate person. But if it just helps them feel secure in those times where it is particularly challenging for them, I think it's just more powerful than many other things. But affirmations are definitely something that I use in my own personal life. Laura, I know you obviously do. But with kids yoga, I like to combine them with the poses, use them in mantra meditation. So introduce children to mantra meditations. You can use mudras, different moving mudras with the affirmations, getting the kids to create their own. So you can get really creative with the way in which you use affirmations with children at home in your kids' classes or at school. Laura, how do you introduce or use mantras with your little yogis?
Yeah, they various ways in terms of introducing simple mantras, the Sanskrit mantras, as well as them repeating, like for teenagers in warrior poses, where they repeat to themselves inside when they're doing the different poses. I am strong, I am capable, and just making that internal voice that we all have like our best friend. And if they can be aware of that internal voice and creating that awareness normally, then that's really positive for them and adults also. And yeah, the little ones, they love the mantras, especially the Sanskrit ones. They really connect to them. So yeah, it's just a really valuable part of sharing yoga with them.
Yeah, and it's such a simple, easy to implement element of yoga. It can be Sanskrit, it can be in English, it can be in whatever language you're speaking with them. Also, I mean, Laura's got a lot of experience teaching English as a second language, but I know a lot of our community are working internationally, and so we're speaking a different language to the children that we work with. And so using those mantras, reinforcing the meaning, but also like helping them to learn the mantra, helping them to learn English through the use of mantras is also, got so many different elements to it and so many different learning outcomes from it. June, do you have any particular questions?
Yeah. Hey, Laura. Yeah, two Lauras here. Good to see everyone here. Yeah, so just to share, because in Singapore, because of some, cultural and religions issue, so I don't really actively teach mantra. Even meditation, I changed the term to quiet time. So, so in Singapore, I feel like for parents, meditation is still quite new to them. I really trying to teach children like to lie down and to do meditation, but I feel like I'm still struggling to get them really into the benefits of meditation and quiet. Like, yeah, I don't know whether if you have any suggestion, especially when the parents don't do it at home regularly. I don't see that they can pick it up so fast.
So you're looking for guidance on getting them to lie down in the meditation?
Yeah, or even just sitting down or close your eyes, because just to practice regularly, not just come to my class and practice once a week.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so important that everything that we teach children in our classes is actually so that they use it outside of the class. I think we all know that we can go to one yoga class a week, but the real impact is when we bring it into our everyday life and really integrate it into every element of life. For meditation and relaxation with children, I do always compare it to teaching them phonics. So if you are teaching children phonics, you ought to read, right? So let's say we're teaching them to read. We don't just say, okay, here we go, here's a 500-page book, read, go do it. Just like we wouldn't with meditate, or we shouldn't with meditation, we shouldn't just be like, okay, now we're going to meditate. You've never done it before. You've never been quiet and calm. You don't really know how to be still because that's not in your nature. But let's all do it a 12-minute meditation, right? So just as we would with teaching them to read, we take it really slowly. We are very patient, and we introduce the skills that they need. So firstly, we introduce, hey, these are letters. This is what a letter looks like. This is what a word looks like. We enhance their listening skills because they need to be able to listen to the sounds in order to be able to read the words. And we do it bit by bit. We do moving, like sensory writing, in the sand trays, and we show them exactly how to hold their pencil, and we show them how a book works. This is how you turn the page. So we do it step by step, and then eventually they can read the sounds, and then eventually they can read the words, and then bigger words, and then a sentence, and then a book. So it's the same with meditation. We need to teach them the skills. So we need to teach them, this is what it's like to be still. This is what it's like to be quiet. This is what it's like to lie down and close your eyes, but not go to sleep. So doing this in different activities, this is what it is to concentrate on one thing. And then starting to put them together. So you might introduce the concept of concentration by doing a moving meditation, like an art meditation or a mandala meditation, so that they understand this is what it's like to concentrate. And then you teach them quietness by doing a walking meditation or a mindful walk where they're not speaking at all. And then you can teach them stillness by pretending to be lying down in the sunshine, and they're not able to move because their body is super heavy, or getting them to imagine that they're ice cream melting into the floor and they can't actually move. So you're teaching them these skills in your yoga class. Week 1 they learn how to be still, week 2 they learn how to be quiet, week 3 they learn how to concentrate, and then you put it all together and you just do a little bit at a time, and then start to increase it. Because as adults, it's recommended that an adult who is learning meditation just sits for 2.5 minutes in their first meditation. So if that is for an adult who has much more control over their own sometimes has more control over their own mind and body, and understands what it means to be quiet and still, then it's just not possible to ask a 6-year-old child to then do a 5-minute meditation when they've never been introduced to meditation at all. And so we also need to remember that some of them don't know what meditation is or means. And children are used to running around everywhere. They go to an after-school club and they're running and they're shouting and they're screaming and they're making noise and it's very excited. And then all of a sudden they come to yoga, and then we're like, okay, no, now it's time to be quiet and we're still. And they're like, what? Isn't this just like an after-school club? So it's a completely different guideline. It's a completely different set of rules. We even see it with adults in yoga classes who have never been to yoga before. They come in with their shoes on in the yoga shala and they make lots of noise and they're shouting and they throw their blocks down, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And they are adults. So we have to be super patient and teach the children all of these skills, all of the yoga etiquette, what is expected of them, and just doing it really step by step. So that's my opinion on it. Laura, do you want to step in?
Yeah, I just to add, like, the power of routine, so that once you've been doing the same routine over various weeks, that they will gradually, naturally get to that point of wanting quiet time, or knowing that even the ones that struggle, they will begin to see that there is some benefit of quiet time. And even if it's not instant, that they will really value that. And just for one example, my children in the academy where I last worked, they would come straight from school to the academy. So there was no real break. And they were exhausted, hyper. They'd just been given sugar as their snack or bread. And it was a difficult class of 15, a lot of boisterous boys. And I introduced 3 mindfulness techniques at the beginning of the class, just to settle them and to bring them to similar levels of energy. And so that it was chanting Om with the placing the hands on the body parts, the finger movements, and the mindfulness with the glitter ball. And I would demonstrate it, and then after a few times, I let the most probably one of the most difficult children to lead the activity, and everyone knew he was difficult because they had him every day at school. And it was really amazing to see how much he enjoyed it, and how much he brought the class together, and how that even after a few times they all had turns to lead, that just that small routine at the beginning made such a difference to the rest of the class. And yeah, they really enjoyed that quiet time. So even if it's at the beginning or at the end, they will slowly really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think definitely, as you say, like the routine is so essential. And you can't give up on it, because sometimes when it's been like 6 weeks and they're still not getting it, and you're like, right, I just feel like giving up on this. I feel like, no, I'm just going to skip the relaxation. But you do have to just keep going, and at some point it will just click, and you'll find that one day you'll do the relaxation and they'll all do it, and it will really surprise you. I just saw on Instagram, actually, one of the teachers from the last teacher training, did it with Charlie. She just posted that she's been teaching this class for 3 weeks, and today they all did their relaxation and they all just lay down. I think it was for like 4 or 5 minutes, and she posted a photo, and they all look, they're not in Shavasana. You know, some of them are lying on their side, some of them are lying on their belly, some of them are squished up, and you think, how is that relaxing? But she just like persevered with it, and now they've got it. And then once they have it like that, once they, and like Laura says, like once they feel what it's like to have that quiet time, then they'll actually start asking for it. Like, you have children who come in and they know that they need that quiet time and they don't get it anywhere else, and they actually ask, like, can we do relaxation? Can we do meditation? And it's like, yes, like, yes, we can. So then you can do it at the beginning and the end of your class. But yeah, it's definitely perseverance. And I would also, you know, I'm a big one for getting the kids feedback. So asking them, you know, how did that relaxation feel for you today? And if they say it was too long, then it's like, okay, you know what, we're going to do it next. We'll try it next time, and we'll do it for half the time. Or if they say, I didn't like it because, you know, whatever, I wasn't comfortable, then you say, okay, you know what, next time let's try it in a different position. So really get their feedback so that you can actually give them the advice on how they can do it, you know, because as you said, June, you want them to do the meditation in their own time. So they need to feel how good it is, but then they also need to have a way in which it's actually going to work for them personally. And the only way that you can really advise them is by asking them, what was difficult for you today in the relaxation? And when they tell you, then you can give them some advice on, oh, maybe you can try it like this, or maybe you need a blanket, or, you know, just give them little bits of pieces of advice on how it can feel better for them. And, you know, making the relaxation and meditation time like a really sacred, nurturing, positive experience, because I've definitely seen teachers who almost make it feel like a punishment. Like, okay, now it's time to meditate, and the kids are like, and it's like, no, that's what we do at the end of yoga. And it's like, no, it needs to be a positive experience, otherwise they're never going to do it outside of the class. So yeah, just making it as like magical as possible. And that's where I do think things like the props, as Laura said, like asking maybe one of them each week can lead it, and yeah, make it engaging in the way that they want to stay focused on your voice, or they want to stay focused on the mantra that they're doing. Yeah, that's a really good question, June.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
On a Saturday morning a few years ago, I had young teenagers for 3 hours. So first thing on a Saturday, just what they need after a full week at school, British Council timetable. And they were not so engaged in terms of English. So I introduced doing visualizations at the beginning. And we had no props. It was a cold, hard floor, and they would use their bags as a pillow. And I would do a guided, colourful visualization. Each week was different, and it was part of the routine, 20 minutes, and they would share their experience, what they saw, or maybe draw. So I was checking in that they were all engaged. They weren't just falling back to sleep. And then one day we had so much to do, the assessments were coming up, and I didn't do the visualization. And partway through the class, I said, "What's wrong, guys?" Like, I just felt there was a lack of cooperation, and they were just not really interested in what we were doing. And I said, "What's wrong?" And they said, "We've not done the visualization, Laura." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we didn't." And I didn't really explain that we had so much to do, and today we can't do it. But that was a big mistake. I really realized how much they valued it, and how much they needed it. And yeah, it was amazing to see the difference in terms of how present they were in class, and their willingness to participate. So
yeah, because I think I've got to say, like, sometimes, like, even when you've been teaching for, like, 10 plus years, you do sometimes think, is this really making a difference though? And then you do something like that where you skip the visualization or you skip the meditation, and you see the behavior of the children completely change. And then you realize, like, oh yeah, that one small part of the class makes a huge, big difference to their mental state, and their overall behavior, their overall learning. And I think that's really powerful. Things like that then keep you going, because you're like, oh my gosh, I really am making such a huge impact on these children's brains and bodies. But yeah, sometimes you can think, oh, does this really make a difference? Maybe I'll just skip it. And especially for, like, the meditation in your classes at the end, they're going out then into the world, back to school or back home or with their families. And so if you are not keeping with that routine, or you're not persevering with it, that's going to have a massive impact on how they go out into the world, and how they continue to learn at school, or how they behave in their family. And so it is such an important part. For me, I think it really, the breathing and the relaxations are the most important part of children's yoga. Well, of yoga as a whole, but of children's yoga, definitely. I also have to say that it made me laugh a little bit, Laura, when you were saying how the kids were there lying down on the cold floor, just using their bags as, like, pillows, because both of us have definitely worked in place, like, because we both worked internationally for, like, Laura 12 years, I think, is it? And for me, it's been 15 years. And we have worked in, nice, really nice schools. Like, I've worked in international schools with all of the resources that you could possibly imagine that I didn't even know how to work, because they were just so fancy, all of these pieces of technology. And then I've worked in countries and in schools and with non-profit organizations where we have had absolutely nothing, where we are doing kids yoga literally on a busy street corner with cars and dogs and everything, and the kids are lying on, like, gravel, because that's all we have, with zero resources. So definitely on the training, but in other lives that we do as well, Laura and I are able to offer the two different sides. Like, if you're working in, an economically developed country in a school that has all of the technology and resources, we can help you with that. But we can also help you if you're working in other parts of the world, which are maybe the schools are not as developed, or you are teaching on a street corner, or in the park where there are literally no resources. So we do have the two extremes of experiences to offer. All right. Any other questions? Okay, let me look in the chat box. All right. The recording will be available of this, by the way. That was just a question that came in. in a couple of days. Any other questions? Let me have a look on the chat box here. No. You ladies are so quiet today. All right, we've covered mantras, how to get kids to relax, and how to reach more children. I mean, just to give you an idea of kind of what you might be interested in asking us, my area of expertise, I would say, is the business side of stuff, like starting from with absolutely nothing. So I started my business when I was living in the rainforest in Thailand. I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a computer. So starting completely from scratch and building my way up. So I think that's one of my areas of expertise I can support you with. And definitely early years yoga and teen yoga, yoga philosophy, how to implement it into the education system and how to implement it in the home settings. I would say those are like my major area of expertise that I could talk all day about. Oh, and behavior management. Positive and playful behavior management is definitely something I could talk about all day long. Laura, what would you say your area of expertise are?
Definitely teenage yoga and the power of mindfulness activities. I think having the skills and then being confident that you've received everything, and then really encouraging that feeling of just going with the flow. Like the children know, it's amazing when you give a class and you have these ideas, but the children can also be much more creative and playful, and just, I think, really augmenting that feeling that you are more than capable of giving the children what they need, and increasing that connection and confidence, and then that can then be transferred, that the children then feel more connected with themselves, and what we transmit that they will receive.
Yeah, which can work incredibly positively. Or on the other side, if you are a teacher who is burnt out, you're doing back-to-back classes. Laura, I know you're going through an incredibly busy time at work at the moment, but that does transmit as well. So I'm really big, as you know, on sequencing and planning your classes and theming your classes and really having direction, still being definitely child-led, but making sure that you as a teacher are going into your classes feeling organized and centered and energized and in a really positive place. And I know not we can't always be, there's things are always happening to us as a teacher, as a human being, but being able to kind of separate that a little bit, because as Laura says, what you are feeling and what energy is surrounding you, basically you are transmitting to the children. So it can work so well, it can be such a positive experience. But also, if you are going into your classes feeling stressed and burnt out, or feeling like, oh, I just don't want to do this today, or I'm not making enough money to make this worth my while, or I've taken on too many classes and I don't really like this age group, whatever your thing is, the children can feel that. And so it is very important for you to be truthful to yourself of what you want to teach, how you want to teach, what are your boundaries. You don't have to teach all the children of the world. I think both Laura and I are still learning that lesson, trying to take on all the problems of all the children on the planet. But being really true to yourself of like, what do I actually want to teach? Who do I want to teach? Who do I want to support? What are my boundaries? What am I not willing to do? It's okay to say, I'm not willing to teach more than 12 children because I don't feel like I can give them that time. or I'm not willing to teach one-on-one classes because that's just not an area of my expertise. And being really true and authentic with that. And then also making sure that when you do step into your class, if there is something going on with you that you feel, you know, burnt out, or you feel anxious or stressed about something, literally just take a couple of breaths. Literally just like shake that out. Start your class with the children and be like, right, we're just going to shake everything off, or we're just going to dance for a minute, or we're going to do this woodchopper breath, this releasing breath, so that you can actually start your class as well, knowing that you are giving your best to the children, and really using the tools that you have, the techniques that you know and that you use with the kids. You've got to use them on yourself as well. You've really got to practice what you preach, and use these skills. Don't give them to the children and then not use them for yourself and feel really burnt out and stressed the whole time. Children are wonderful, but it can sometimes be stressful. So let's be honest. All right, one question that we get all of the time, that I get all of the time, and I wrote a little article about this for Elephant Journal, but it was, how do you make yoga interesting and cool for teenagers? So Laura, you just mentioned that teen yoga is definitely one of your area of expertise. So I personally would love to know how you make it engaging and interesting for that older age group.
I'm thinking back to a class of 14-year-old girls on a Friday, and yeah, there was some kind of reluctance to engage, I think because they saw their own limitations, and it was just giving them the space to them, for allowing them to enter the yoga in terms of wherever they were up to, wherever they felt comfortable, and just seeing each one as an individual. Lots of positive reinforcement, lots of encouragement, and yeah, just making that it's okay. And like teenagers, they're going through all these changes in their bodies, their lack of self-acceptance maybe that comes through, all those hormonal changes that are going on, and just giving them a little bit of, why do we do yoga? Why is it so important, especially in those teenage years? Menstruation comes in earlier now than it did before, and all the emotions are sometimes all over the place, and just hopefully giving them that chance to feel the benefit, and that when they come in to a class that they feel different, and when they leave it's like, that's why I'm doing yoga. Mm-hmm. And just making it as accessible as possible, and fun and a little bit light, and just that they feel seen.
Yeah, because I feel like teen yoga is completely different to adult yoga, and kids yoga. Adults who are going to yoga, we kind of go in and we're like, I just want to be on my mat, I just want to do my own thing and focus on the voice of someone telling me to do something with my body and my mind. And then kids yoga, it's, you've got all the props and the games and the tools, and it can be very fun, and there's so many different ways you can engage them. And then teens are kind of in this middle part where you are doing the postures that you would do and the sequences that you would do with an adult class, and you're maybe like teaching them a bit more technique with regards to the physical side, but they still it's still, like, I would say, more of a community than even in an adult class. Like, I think it is a space where they can come in, and it's so much more than physical, and it is a space where where you're having like a discussion, and it's fun, and it's really interactive. They're talking a lot, and it's group discussion and kind of group work versus your adult classes who are like, come in and sometimes just not even speak to anyone. Teen yoga is really different from the way I teach it. It can feel really different, and I think, yeah, you just kind of need to engage them through conversation. that's how you engage them, which is how it's completely different to adult yoga. I love teaching teens. I think they are, because it's like, I feel like I can do everything that I would do in an adult class with regards to introducing new concepts, introducing the chakras and the yoga philosophy and the energetic body and Hindu mythology, and I love all of that. But they're more open-minded, I find, than a lot of adults. And you can get creative and you can have a discussion about it and make it more workshop style and make it fun and, yeah, really lighthearted. And so for me, teens are some of my favorite classes to teach. Yeah. It can feel intimidating if you haven't taught them before. Because it's like, all of these mini adults, are they going to judge me? But I find that actually children and teens judge less than some adults do. So, all right. So any other particular final questions?
I had a question. I'm going to do your course, so I'm assuming that, you know, I'm going to be learning a lot more about philosophy and earlier. So everything that you just mentioned, you know, obviously I want to learn all of that. But I also had a question about the different courses as well, because I know that I'm doing the 95-hour course, and then there's a 200-hour and a 500-hour. And then the course that I did previously, I don't think it was any of those. I think I just taught about yoga with children. So what are the differences between all those courses, and what makes your course, why am I allowed to register with Yoga Alliance with your course, but perhaps I didn't know about it with the course that I did previously?
Well, honestly, the Yoga Alliance can be really confusing. So these kind of questions are totally normal. It's quite funny because I know that Laura signed up to just finish the teach training, and she didn't realize it was a 500-hour recently. You ended up doing an extra 300 hours than what you expected to do. So that's fun.
Yeah, because I was just really clear that this was the course that I wanted to do. So for me, it didn't matter if it was what the number of hours. It was just,
yeah,
I was guided to do it and it felt good. But it wasn't Yoga Alliance, it was the Spanish version of Prem. So I didn't really focus on any European affiliation, unfortunately. But
so my first training that I did was not Yoga Alliance registered. So I did it in India, which many of them are not. For me, I actually didn't plan on teaching ever. So I just went to India to do, I didn't even know it was a 200-hour at the time. I just went to India for a month to be in isolation, away from the rest of the world, to just be focused on yoga and learn more about yoga and meditation, because I basically just wanted a break from everything and everyone. And I knew that yoga was just something that I'd always really connected with and loved. And so I went to do that. So Yoga Alliance and all of that was not of interest to me at all. I didn't really care. And then when I finished that and I continued on my yoga journey, and since then I've done so many other teacher trainings, and it does get addictive, by the way. Teacher training definitely gets addictive. But yeah, basically the Divine Light Yoga, which is my school, is registered with the Yoga Alliance. So the trainings and additional courses that I lead are all registered with Yoga Alliance, which means that it's of a certain standard. It means that they have checked over my curriculum, and it's really just a kind of stamp of approval, basically.
Okay.
And so everyone who does the training with me, then when you go to work with a school or a studio or in your community, you are able to say that you have trained with a registered yoga school. So that's Divine Light Yoga. that just, again, it just means it's just a really easy way for studios to look at your certificate, look at your experience and say, okay, she's trained with Divine Light Yoga. They are a Yoga Alliance registered school, which means they are of a certain standard. So it's really just a way to, because there's a lot of yoga schools out there, right? And there's a lot of yoga schools out there that are not very ethical, or are really not giving what they say they're giving, or are really just not very good, to be quite honest. There's a lot out there. There's also a lot of amazing yoga schools that choose not to be registered with the Yoga Alliance. So it's just, this is where it can kind of get a little bit messy. And I personally think that you should always choose a school that you connect with, just like, you know, Laura did, regardless of whether it's registered with Yoga Alliance or not.
Yeah.
It's something that the teachers that you connect with them, or just their philosophy, or something just feels right for you, and then you should always go for that. Obviously, doing the training with me now, well, when we start in 2 weeks' time, at the end of that, your certificate will say that you have completed the Yoga Alliance registered children's yoga teacher training, which means that you have attended a training that is of a certain standard by the Yoga Alliance standards.
Okay.
So if you have completed a 200-hour as well, then you can register that and register your 95-hour. Some teachers, like, I'm going to be totally honest, when I didn't register as a yoga, I didn't register with the Yoga Alliance until I opened up my yoga school. So I was teaching, I'd done, you know, I'd done my 500-hour that was Yoga Alliance, I'd done 2 kids yoga teacher trainings that were Yoga Alliance, but I didn't officially register with the Yoga Alliance themselves until I opened up Divine Light Yoga. So it's not a legal requirement. Yeah, it can be a bit messy, really. It can, you know, but you know that that my school is registered. I am, you know, Laura and I are registered. And you will have a certificate that says you've completed the registered training. And then it's completely up to you whether you decide to officially register with them or not. And I'll definitely go more into it on the teacher training, purely because it is a question that comes up over and over. And even when I explain it to people, sometimes it's like, but what does that mean? Because it can be confusing. But I would always just recommend, well, Annika, you've signed up anyway, but I would always recommend to everybody that you sign up to a teacher training with the teachers that you feel connected to. I think that's so important. And that is why, you know, one of the reasons that Laura and I are doing this live today, for those that are thinking about doing the training, so that you get to know a little bit about us. And you know what, just like with kids, you're not the teacher for every child. You know, honestly, we're not the teachers for every adult either. And obviously you don't want to sign up to a course and then find out, oh, this is really not what I was expecting from the teacher. And equally, you want to make sure that if it's important to you to sign up to a Yoga Alliance registered school, you need to make sure that that school is actually registered with them, because there are some schools that say they are and then are not. So it's really important that you do a little bit of research yourself. We are registered with them, but but it's not a legal requirement. So not every yoga school is registered with the Yoga Alliance. And there are some, as I say, some amazing teachers out there and some amazing yoga schools out there that choose not to register with Yoga Alliance.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, if that hasn't cleared everything up, it's completely normal to still not know the situation, but I will definitely go over it a little bit more in the teacher training for when it comes up to you for your time to register, if you decide to do so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so for those that are watching the recording, or watching live on Facebook as well, If you are interested in joining up to the next teacher training, which starts on the 14th of September, which will be co-led by myself and the other lovely Laura, the two Lauras. Whenever I'm writing my emails, I'm like, people are gonna think I'm like crazy because I'm writing like Laura and I are doing this and that, and people are gonna think, isn't she Laura? Who is she talking about? So both Laura and myself will be co-leading the teacher training, and it runs over 4 months. So it will start on the 14th of September and runs all through till December. And we've tried to make it a little bit easier for people to join. So I know when Charlie joined, it was over 12 weeks and we were doing 2 sessions a week. And so for this training, it's 1 session a week on Wednesdays. And then we have some additional Monday sessions. So it just makes it a little bit easier to keep up with it. You know, if you're doing it at your own pace, or if you can't join the live sessions and you're watching the recordings, it means you just have a little bit of extra time to watch the recordings. And the assignments that we do are really practical. It's more about brainstorming ideas, really sharing ideas with the rest of the training group. They really won't take longer than, I'd say, 15 to 30 minutes for the shorter. We have like 5 assignments throughout the course. Charlie, would you agree with me as someone who's just taken the training? Yeah. Okay. So it's not intense. It's really made to be something that you actually look forward to in your week. This is not a teacher training that is, I just need to get it done and I need to get my assignments done and then I get my certificate. It really is designed so that it fits into your life and so that it is a part of your week that you actually that you actually look forward to. So I do get people who email me who actually say, I'm really looking forward to watching this recording next week, and I really look forward to my, the live sessions on a Thursday, because it isn't just like, oh, I need to do, like, it really isn't. Charlie, would you? Sorry, you're the only one.
Definitely. Yeah, I really look forward to it, especially because obviously we did it at the beginning of lockdown, didn't we? And so I literally didn't see anyone during that time other than my partner and my son, and sort of video calls at work. So yeah, it was really nice. And even though it was online, it was so interactive, and we sort of broke into groups, and it was really nice to be able to kind of get to know other people on the course. And yeah, definitely was the part of the week that I look forward to.
Yeah, and me too. It's really nice to have a routine, especially when you're in like quarantine. But yeah, I'm always so fortunate because I just feel like we have such amazing groups. I think because it is also really diverse. It's always a very international group with people literally from all 6 continents. I'm just missing Antarctica. I would love it if I got someone who was living in Antarctica to join my training, and then I would get all 7 continents. So yeah, it's a really good global community, and we have teachers, educators, parents, social workers, therapists. So it's a really great space to learn from not just myself and Laura, but from each other. Like, everybody's in the Facebook group, the private Facebook group that we have, like sharing ideas, sharing resources. I definitely learn from every single training that I run. I learn so much from all of the trainees. So it is a really beautiful, very supportive, fun, light-hearted group. So if you are interested in joining, the registrations are closing on the 10th. I think I put the 10th. And the course actually starts with the opening circle with Laura and myself on Monday, the 14th of September. So we've got about 8 days left to register if you haven't done already. And I will put a link to the webpage where you can get all the details and sign up. I will put the link on, attach it to this video somehow. So if you do want to join, then obviously we would love to have you. And if you've got any questions at all about the training, how it's going to run, or just really anything at all, if there's something where you're like, oh, I've been wanting to do it, but I'm not sure about this, please do email me. I'm always happy to answer your questions. Always happy to obviously have a conversation with you, because I want to make sure that this is the right training for you as well. It's really important that we have a very supportive group and that it is a positive experience for everybody. And so I really want to make sure that everybody who joins feels confident and comfortable and positive about signing up and getting started. So yeah, if you've got any questions, you can email me and I will answer them. And if we have no other questions about kids yoga or anything to do with the training, then we can say goodbye. Thank you and goodbye. It's been really lovely to have you ladies here live. Charlie and June, I will be seeing you in the Facebook, in the Mindful Teachers membership challenge that we've got going on next week to grow your community even further. And Annika, for the teacher training, we usually have about 20 people on the training. Depends. Usually on the lives, I would say that it's about, to be honest, 50-50. 50 people join, 50% of people join live, and then 50% of people watch the recording. And I'm like, we're super flexible with it. If people want to join the live class for the first hour and then watch the rest of the recording, you know, for those of you that are in Asia or Australia, or it's a little bit later, it's great to just have people pop in and be like, I'm just here for half an hour, just wanted to say hello to everybody, and then they can watch the rest of the recording. Or some people will jump in for the Monday sessions but not be able to join the Wednesday sessions. And then we always have the core group. Charlie was one of them who was there every single live session, and they don't miss it. So yeah, it's really flexible with how you want to fit it into your life. It's great if you can join live, because it does. There's a lot of group discussion as well. So it's definitely not just Laura and I feeding you information. There's a lot of group discussion, shared learning, brainstorming sessions. So it's super interactive. So it is really great if you can join the live sessions, even if it's just, you know, 1 or 2 per month. All right, Laura, is there anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
I'm really excited. It's a massive passion of mine, being able to share yoga with children. And yeah, when Laura first mentioned her mission of yoga reaching every child, it really resonated. And that was a good few years ago. So I'm just so excited to be a part of this. And and I can see that it will be really nourishing. It will be nourishing and empowering on an individual level. And sharing this with children. It's time that they receive this. It really is.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah.
Yay, we're one step closer to taking over the world with children's yoga. Yay. People think I'm crazy, but I'm gonna do it. So all right, well, thank you so much, everybody who's joined live. Thank you, everybody who's going to be watching the recording, and I hope to see some of you on the teacher training, and I will see some of you in the membership. But yeah, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Bye. Thank you, ladies.